win a bronze medal, and everybody in Ghana is at the airport to welcome. You know, that could be very discouraging to the other Ghanaian children who are doing the other sports.
I see. Interesting point on which we'll build the rest of the interview. Thank you once again for joining us, and Happy New Year. This is the first time we are speaking this year. Let's look at the GOC in retrospect, 2024. How would you describe the GOC's 2024? It was a year in which we had the Olympic Games, so it was an important year, but overall, how was 2024 from a GOC perspective?
Well, it wasn't as impressive as the previous year. You know, the last Olympics where Ghana showed up, and we showed up very well.
Okay.
2024 was quite very uneventful, if I put it away. Well, fortunately for us, we happened to show up at the Olympics, but unfortunately, we didn't show up with our medal prospect, and that's boxing. On any day, on any time, if boxing shows up at the Olympics, trust me, Ghana would have come home with some medals.
In Tokyo, we got a medal from boxing.
Exactly, and as much as we tried to get boxing to qualify, the GOC sponsored boxing to Senegal to go see qualification, and that was the African Championship. It didn't happen. We followed up to Italy, still sponsored them to Italy to see if we can get qualification. That also didn't happen. And then finally, we were in Thailand. I was there with myself, with the team. Unfortunately, we just missed qualification by an inch. If we had done that, if we had qualified, especially Ibrahim Alote, I'm sure he would have been, because there were a number of boxers that he's defeated, and this is a boxer who won the medals at the Olympics. So it's unfortunate. Our track and field guys did very well. I must say that Suleiman and Azamati were excellent. But unfortunately, we couldn't mount the podium. I think these are lessons that we're learning. You know, when other countries are spending or taking 4 years to build for the next Olympics, investing in their athletes, we would think that if we invest in the athletes in the last 4 months of the Olympics, then obviously he can go out there and then win a medal against an athlete who has worked, or who has been working, or who has been worked on in the last 4 years. It's just not fair. I mean, if God was a fair God, it's what we put in is what we get. We haven't invested in our athletes. We've invested so much in football, and justifiably so. I think it's about time, once we're resetting Ghana and resetting our sports, we need to look at disciplines that has always stood up and tall. I don't remember when the last time football won a medal in any major international tournament, but you can speak very well of our boxers, our volleyball players in Africa. You can speak very well of what they've done in Africa. I mean, the last Olympic Games, it was a boxing. But ask yourself, how much have we been invested in the gyms around Bukum and Jamestown and Mamprobi and all that? We don't. Ask yourself, how much do you even invest in the boxers per their way of training, or making sure that they are traveling to go and engage in a lot of the fights? We don't. You know, so if we don't start doing something new, I don't think that as a nation we should expect to get any new results. It will be the same thing.
You spoke about boxing and our inability to qualify in terms of that for the Olympics. What do you think went wrong? Because we had 3 opportunities, one in Africa, one in Italy, one in Thailand. What do you think went wrong? What caused our inability to make it there? Is it an issue of boxers just having a bad day, or there are deeper issues that prevented us from making the Olympic Games in Paris?
Well, I'll say there was one bad day for Alote, obviously, you know, and maybe a bad judgment, if I'll say, because obviously Alote won his fight. It was very obvious when the results were announced. Everybody, oh, the booing. Okay. Quite apart from that, you know, when the boxers came back from Tokyo, okay, there was this proposal to...
This was in 2020.
Ministry, exactly. Yeah. You know, to constantly keep these boxers in camp, like the GOC did before the Olympic. We had kept them in camp for close to 4 months. They stayed in a hotel, which we paid. They were training at Bukom Boxing Arena. Okay. That, look, it's very important that we get a dietitian for these guys because you know where they live. There's a lot of peer influence. And if you don't keep them in camp, these guys will go training, and in the evening when they come back, you know, the free world is they just do what they want. So there was this agenda, or there was this setup like, look, let's try as much as possible to be keeping these boxers in camp as often as we can. But then the issue was, okay, there's no money. The other proposal that came from the boxing,
and that response came from who? The no money response came from the sports ministry.
Is a ministry that funds,
okay,
you know, the national teams, just like the Black Stars, are funded by the ministry. Okay, the GOC only comes in to help because we realize that over a period, these so-called least financed sports don't get anything from the ministry at all. You know, even if they have to travel to go for African competitions, you know, and it is these African competitions that builds up the confidence of your athlete. But if you don't make them go for competitions, and all you do is 4 months before a major tournament, we start investing, then it starts creating problems. Okay, so we refuse to keep these boxers in camp. We allow them to just have a free range, do whatever they want to do, you know, without no proper monitoring. Okay. Selection was also a problem. So for me, I think these three things are accounted. But the major one was us not putting these guys most of the time away from Accra, away from where they stayed. Okay, before the Olympics, the last one that Techi won the medal, we kept them in a camp. You know, and we refused
far away from.
We refused to let any of them go home. They had good training facilities. By way of Bukom Boxing Arena. So it was a comprehensive thing. Now, boxing is not the only talent that I think that can win us medal at the Olympics. If you look at the last 3 Olympics, weightlifting has showed up very, very well. Swimming has also showed up, even though most of the time it's through the universality slots. Okay, judo is one discipline that has showed up. What have we done for these disciplines? How much have we invested in weightlifting? Yes, weightlifting, we're fortunate. I used to be president of weightlifting.
Yes.
We managed to put up a gym at Accra Sports Stadium. Even when we wanted to get NSA to go and upgrade the gym, or maybe to go and do a few innovation, because then I'd left out as weightlifting president, the gym was deteriorating. Look, ask yourself, when was the last time, but for the African Games, that maybe the NSA or maybe the ministry had imported maybe weightlifting barbells, had imported tennis rack, table tennis stuff, you know. These things are things that we need to do to build our national teams. I listened to Raymond, and Raymond was speaking about people who have been employed, or coaches who have been employed by the FA. Okay. Nathan, the other sporting discipline, don't they deserve to employ coaches who will be paid by the government?
They do.
But it's not so. If you're a weightlifting president, you're a tennis ball president, if you're a volleyball president, you probably have to be paying the coach from your own pocket, or they are not paid at all. What level of dedication will you expect from these coaches? Nobody pays them. And they see things being done for the other discipline. And that's very discouraging. You know, so as we reset in Ghana and reset in our sports, these are things that I really wish that we looked at. All our national teams should be treated equally or fairly. I'm not saying that if you give 1 million to football, you should give 1 million to, say, badminton. No, they don't need 1 million. They only need maybe 100. Let's try and find it for them. If you're paying a coach for football, and say you're paying the coach maybe $30,000, you only need to pay maybe $1,000 for a competent, maybe volleyball coach. And we should be, this country has so much talent. We have so much talent. But how to harness those talents and manage them and take them to is where we lack. And it's not that we lack the idea to do it. It's there. But the frustration and the no money syndrome is killing a lot of these talents.
I see. You're still listening to Sporty Breakfast 106.1 FM in Accra, 91.3 in Kumasi, 102.5 in Takrady. We are speaking with Nuuno Mensah. He's GOC president. He was one-time president of the Ghana Weightlifting Federation, but of course he's handed that over. He's is doing other things now. Raymond Yamado is my wingman.
Yeah.
Ray.
Yeah, Nathan, I'm following the conversation keenly, and I think that Uncle Ben makes a lot of solid points. And in the case of the boxers, for instance, there was a story of a boxer who left camp, was eating all sorts of things because obviously there was no dietitian, only to gain weight. Then someone advised him, "Oh, you can take this medicine and lose weight."
Yeah.
And then he tested positive for
exactly.
You know, all of these things, all of these things have come up. And even the camping facility that's supposed to be at the boxing emporium.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm told that housing complex has been rented out to nurses.
To the nurses, you're right.
So boxers cannot even use that facility.
Boxers cannot even have
that facility for the residential camping.
Yeah.
It's a challenge.
I see.
And Nathan, you should go see the facility. Yes, we had come there before. We made the boxers come there before. I think before they left for Senegal. I mean, very, very basic. Very, very basic. Okay. So here's a Tichi, Samuel Tichi, who had won an Olympic medal for us. Okay. You ask him to go and camp in a place, and he sees you that when it comes to football, you're putting them in a 5-star hotel. I mean, what kind of motivation are we giving these young boys and girls? You know, so we just need to treat them fairly. I'm not saying equally, but fairly. Okay, because he spoke, and it's a good point. And it tells me, Raymond, you're really on top of what you do. Okay, but because for you to go all the way to go see that training first, and then also to confirm that it's been rented out to nurses, that means that you're very, very much on the ground. And that is exactly what it is.
I see. So you were highlighting the points of 2024, so the Olympics and surrounding matters. Away from that, what other things happened in GOC's 2024 year before we talk about this year and all the things that lie ahead? Well,
of course, the African Games was, even though it was in a GOC event, once it was Games, it was part of it. The GOC sponsors most of the National Federation. We supported them financially, and of course, through ANOCA, we also supported the LOC for the Games, about $200,000, so that we can manage the Games well. And I'm sure you all know the results of the African Games. Yeah. Yes, I've always believed that if we had started early preparation, we could have done much better than we did. But for arm wrestling, who one discipline winning close to 40 medals, I'm sure our placing on the medal table wouldn't have been
18.
Yes, that encouraging as a host nation. Okay. I was part of the LOC. I had from day one advocated for a lot of things to be done.
Okay.
But you see, when our policymakers or when people are the realm of affairs, we want to politicize sports. Sometimes we will not get the results we want. That is why, if you look at the IOC, I'd always insisted that, look, we want our sports bodies to be as independent as possible. So whether there's a change in government or our sports structures are still there. I've had a lot of good suggestions to the LOC, but it looks like most of the time they saw it in a political light and would not take it. I heard so many comments about that. At a point in time, I was even called and warned that, look, you'll be reported to the president that and these things. And I'm saying this because
for comments and suggestions you were making,
which were very relevant. Because you see, I am into sports administration. I have done these games for close to 20 years. I've seen it all. Okay, so if a game is coming into my home country, who is better placed, to give suggestion? Because everybody on the LOC, none of them has even gone to games, apart from maybe Mr. Samson Dean, who's a NPC. So I expected somebody like me, or maybe Mr. Samson Dean, should be listened to more when it comes to, for close to 4 years, we were supposed to prepare for this game. But for the last minute effort that some of us, eventually I had to step in to help, to manage the games village, it would have been a disaster. But we didn't need to get that fair. If people would just listen to others and not put collaboration and say, look, we're doing this for Ghana. And of course, I'm doing this for Ghana. And one thing I had always told them, look, my only interest, or the interest I have here, is that, look, if you're an Olympic family and then you organize the games in your home, and then you have the IOC president coming down, the local president coming, and the games is successful, your profile within the Olympic family shoots up. Right from 2021, when it was set up, I had given the roadmap. This is what we need to do, as early as possible. Let's get to Lausanne, meet all the IFs, and tell them that, look, in 3 years' time, we're organizing the games in Ghana. We want you to put it on your calendar and let it be an Olympic qualifier.
I see.
We didn't do it. I said, look, let's bring all the African Confederations presidents in Ghana, okay, 2-3 years before the games. And then what you're going to ask them to do, look, we're going to organize these games in 3 years' time. This is the current facility that we have. What can you guys do to help us?
Okay.
And I know that, look, once you bring the African presidents here, your infrastructure, because every international federation has funding where you could help countries in infrastructure, okay? If we had also done that 3 years before the games, as I suggested, I am sure would have. And I said, latest by 2021, we need to have put together Team Ghana. If it's table tennis, that is top of, or the China is the top country that plays. Let's go camp our table tennis players in China, 8 months, 1 year. If it's boxing and we want to go to Cuba, I want to go to where, let's go put them there. So by the end of 2021, I expected I would have put Team Ghana together. And then now the focus is huge. And it wasn't the LOC's mandate to be managing Team Ghana. No. Even the ethics of managing games, you, the local organizing committee, had nothing to do with your country's team, because you're supposed to be fair. You're looking at all the other countries. Okay, so we're giving quite a lot of very good suggestions from day one, and I'm sure if you had listened to. Yes, we did well. For the sake of arm wrestling, we did well, but I wasn't impressed. I mean, look at the number of sporting disciplines that won medals. There were very few, just about 6 or 7 of them. But here is us hosting a championship in our country. Oh my God. We take advantage and we sweep as many medals as we can. And I had expected that if we're not within the first 3, at least within the first 5 on the medal table, even without arm wrestling, Ghana should have been there. But we never took advantage. So I think lessons were learned. I'm sure those of us who took those decisions or made decisions not to listen and not to rely on the experience of people have learned their lessons, even though maybe they may not say. But moving forward, I don't think that Ghana should be put through that stress again. We have the people. Why can't we just rely on them and deliver for our mother country?
I see. Ray, do you have a question?
Yeah, quick one. And this one is coming from some of the federations. Some of the federations believe, yes, they are hamstrung when it comes to raising resources to support their games. But again, the support that comes from the GOC doesn't come on time to help them advance some of their agendas. Okay. Just your quick thoughts on that too.
Okay, I would be surprised if they say, okay, but let's also establish the fact that the national teams, just like the Blasters, are funded by the ministry.
Okay.
The GOC is working on behalf of the IOC to develop sports in every country. The GOC also has an interest for as many disciplines to qualify for international tournaments as possible, because that is where we become relevant. So based on that common interest that we have with the ministry, we also go out there and support the national teams. A national team will first go to the ministry or write to the ministry for support for a particular tournament. If they don't get it, then they will rush back to the GOC, and then we'll support them. If you can look through what we have done for all the national teams, it did not even happen before my time. This is unprecedented. The level of support that we give to the various federations. You can go back from after 20, or go back beyond 2016 and get data on what was done for the national team. It was 0. Or it was just about 2-3 federations. But we have made it broad and make sure that as many national team federations can benefit from whatever resource we can get as possible. This year, I'm not going to go through the breakdown, but we have supported every single national team or every single federation that has requested for funding from us. The challenge is that it may not be enough to take care of what they are doing. that is where the government or the ministry should also come in. That is where the federations themselves should also become a little bit innovative and creative and also source for their own level of funding. I used to be president of Ghana Weightlifting. At that time, averagely, I spent not less than $30,000 of my own money a year on weightlifting. Because sometimes if we have to travel for an African championship, NSA ministry, no money. You're the president and you're trying to build the sports to a certain level. When I took over weightlifting, Ghana weightlifting was 0 in Africa. We're way, way down. Eventually, we came to number 5 in Africa. And it wasn't because we're getting a lot of money from the ministry, but it was because we're getting funding from myself as the president, and then a few sponsors like Indomie that we got who sponsor 1 or 2 tickets. Ashford, we appeal to them, look, 5 athletes are traveling, can you pay for 2 tickets? You know, so yes, as much as the national federations need money and they are not getting, I think they also need to lift up their game a bit. When they get a little bit of support from the GOC, something from the government, they can also top up something with their sponsors.
I still want to stay with the federations a bit. There's this challenge of the federations themselves not building their credibility or having proper structures to be able to.
Do the federations suffer a credibility problem?
Nathan, let me finish.
Okay,
I want to land on a certain point.
Okay.
They've not been able to build proper structures up to the point where they can walk into the ministry and say, command the kind of respect and attention maybe a Ghana Football Association would, simply because of some issues that have happened in those federations, visa racketeering, some of these issues. How much of a role, does that play in making a federation look credible?
I would straight away say that I don't think that that general statement would characterize what our federations is. Yes, there may be 1 or 2 incidents that goes to affect the credibility of maybe 1 or 2. But that would not be enough to affect the credibility of all the national federations. I think that it's not the issue of they not building enough credibility to warrant support. First of all, it's a mandate. The ministry has to support every national team. It's not only football team it's not only football that we have a national team. We have a national weightlifting team, we have a national table tennis team, we have a national tennis team, we have a national volleyball team. So let's get that clarity. It's there. And it's the duty of the ministry to fund every national team to international games. What I think normally happens is that we don't see, or our policy makers don't see these sporting disciplines as something that is important to support. As a nation, our psyche and our mentality is all football. Everybody in Ghana thinks that when football is doing well, then our sports is doing well. Yeah. Look at some of the federation heads or people who head some of our federation. These are professionals, these are business guys, these are lawyers. And the question of credibility, I think, doesn't come in most of them. The other issue about they not having structures and not doing, yes, you can talk about maybe some federations not having proper structures, not even having congresses, not having meetings. Yes, these are things that would normally influence how the federation looks. But when it comes to support of the national team, I don't think these are things that will influence, because the national team is funded by the ministry. So whether the federation head is credible or whether the federation have structures, once it's come to the ministry for a sponsorship to go and represent Ghana in an international tournament, I think just like football, I'm sure we have so many more problems in football than you're having. But yes, so football ends up getting all the money that is budgeted to the ministry.
Based on the financial report you unveiled over the weekend, GOC spent almost $800,000 in 4 years.
Yeah.
That's very little.
Well, that is all that we can get, and then I will also ask you, okay, so can we get records from those whose duty it is to fund them? The GOC can only get funding from
IOC.
our sponsors, our IOC, and all the other things. And whatever we get, we give to the national federations. That is how much we can get. If you say averagely we're spending 200,000 on our national teams a year from people who are only supposed to support or to help, that I think is quite impressive.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that I think is impressive, especially when we're giving scholarships as well to some of our top athletes so that they can go to the next Olympics. I mean, what more do you need? If, for instance, Azamati, every man can draw about maybe $1,000, which he can use to fund himself all around. What else do you want if Abeku, Jackson, or our boxers, even our boxers who are locally based?
Yeah.
If these guys are getting like 9,000 or 15,000 Ghana cedis a month, what can they do with it? So for me, our key focus has always been the scholarship for our national team athletes so they can qualify for the next.
So staying on the scholarships, I have a problem with the scholarships. It's almost as if our focus, or when it comes to developing next generation of future stars, when it comes to athletics and all, our focus is always, let's ship them out to US. Let's give them scholarships to go and better their skills or their talent in the US. But we are not focusing on how to make sure we keep those funds inside and try to develop the talent here. Case in point, Lechile Tiboho, who stayed in Botswana, owned his talent, went for the meets, went for the championships, and became a 200-meter winner. Why are we not shifting focus from the model that hasn't produced the world champions we want to building our own facilities and making sure we own the talent here?
Okay. You see, the scholarship scheme has a criteria that the national federations have to meet. Mind you, it is not the GOC that selects the scholarship winners. They are given to us by the national federation based on the athlete's performance. Okay, the scholarship are given to help an athlete to build himself or herself to be able to go for the next Olympics.
Okay.
So at the beginning of the quadrennial, IOC says, look, Ghana, we can give you maybe 12 scholarship slots. Okay. And then we ask the federations to bring nominees or people who they think that can qualify. Eventually, the international federation of those national federations will look at the grading of these athletes and see if they have the potential of qualifying. If you do, then it is given to you. So it happens that most of those from track and field, or most athletes that are presented for scholarship awards from track and from Ghana Athletics Federation, are athletes who are based outside Ghana. Or say these are athletes who can then meet the criteria for the granting of the scholarship, because of course they are not just giving in money to anybody. They want to make sure that this is a potential who can make it to the next Olympics. So it's so unfortunate that these guys or ladies are based outside Ghana, and that is an unfortunate thing. But the boxers who got scholarship the last time are all locally based.
Okay.
It's just unfortunate that they didn't do enough to have qualified for Paris.
What the scholarships? What do they cover? Is it to school? I mean, you know, when you hear
no, it's not for school.
So it's just for preparation, right?
For preparation for the next Olympics. So it can cover your training programs, your traveling to go compete in other competition for the qualifier. It even covers something that you can pay to a coach who is helping you to support, and of course your medical bills and all this stuff, you know. And if you're getting about $900 a month, you know, that for me I think is something that it's very helpful to any athlete.
I see. Let's talk about
but the second leg of my question. Do we have plans of giving proper support to our athletes here? Say he's not able to get a scholarship to go abroad. Can we have a system where
Where
he stays in Ghana. He trains in Ghana. He gets support to go to the meets, the African Championship, the qualifiers. Are we interested in doing that? Because we don't have a lot of local talent, local-based athletes on our list.
Okay, so Raymond, you realize that the funding we give to most of the national federations for international competitions, most of the time they go with their locally based athletes. So in that breath, we're supporting local athletes. Okay. But you see, we also need to look at that in a much bigger picture. What is the predicament of our local athletes or athletes base here? They're not working. Nobody takes care of them. They don't even have a good place to sleep. They don't even, okay. Let's start going back and see what we had done in the past when Ghana was on top of Africa. We had most of our locally based athletes being employed in one security services or the other, or one state institutions or one company in the other. We used to play the Ndafa League. So every company who played in the Ndafa League were looking out for football talents, and they employ in their company. I remember that Awulikwe was with Bank of Ghana. I remember Nau and brothers were with SIC. Okay, so these players at least had a source of income that, and look, they were not even employed to come do clerical job. No, they are employed as footballers. They go for training in the afternoon. They don't even come to the office. Those who are with prisons, the Zuma Nelsons, you know, they would not even come. They are not.
But they were on the company's payroll.
Payroll, exactly, because they were national team athletes. Okay, so they were being sorted. They didn't have any problem. If I go to training and come back, where am I going to get my next meal? So they were being taken care of. In addition to that, it was a government policy that most of our national teams have been adopted by one state institution or the other. Okay, so the national teams, if they have to travel, for instance, Milo would take care of maybe juvenile football. Mobile was doing athletics, and there were a few state institutions who adopted our national teams. We can do same. We encourage the employment of our athletes in the security services. Okay, why can't we then start doing say look, prisons, police, make sure you're reserving a quota, irrespective of the education qualification, because if you say you're looking for an athlete with a first degree, it will be very difficult. Why can't we do same now? Instruct all these state security services, leave a quota to employ our national team athletes. Okay? And all that they do is to go and train and represent Ghana. We can do same.
In Nigeria, that's what they do for their weightlifters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You see,
the
we can go back. We can. It's not like we don't have people who were part of those things. Sports. At a point in time when we used to work with E.T. Mensah, we had this sports lottery, which was then funding the ministry. Of course, I could call pay, or if you guys remember, maybe you're too young to. Okay, but they got to a point, realized that they were not, giving us enough of what they were getting, so that we can always have this sports lottery, so that the Ministry of Youth and Sport, the Ministry of Sports and Recreation, has a regular funding stream that comes there. If Ghana Sports is going to depend on the benevolence of individuals, we will not get anything new. And it's not like we don't know how to do, we know it. But we just hope that maybe the policymakers will then listen to the people who've had the experience and then change the way we're doing it. The biggest problem we have with the so-called is funding. And we have just put these athletes in state employment. If military has maybe about 50 of our national team, at least police has 50, how much is going to take from their salary roll? It's not going to hurt us as a nation. In industries or companies used to own clubs, football teams. What is it? Look, in Egypt, every football club has other sporting disciplines. Okay, Accra House of Folk is a big brand, and that's where I come from. Why doesn't Accra House of Folk has a weightlifting team? Accra House of Folk table tennis team stuff. Yeah. Because in any case, you are Accra House of Folk Sporting Club.
Sporting Club, yes.
It's not Accra House of Football Club. So there are very little things that if we do, our locally based athletes will be encouraged to stay here, and they'll be very comfortable. But We need to start doing them. And it's not like we don't know how to do them. We know. But implementing them has always been a problem. I'm just looking forward. We're working very closely with Kofi Adam. I realize that he's a very listening person. And then we can implement some of these things. And I'm sure it would ease a lot of burden on government.
This is still the Sporty Breakfast, live on 106.1 FM, 102.5 in Takrady, 91.3 FM in Kumasi. My name is Nathan Kwa. Raymond Yamado is my wingman. We are interviewing GOC President Ben Nuuno Mensah. You can send in your thoughts, 054-257-1061, 054-257-1061. We'll take a quick breather. When we come back, we'll talk about the GOC in 2025. What are the big plans? The Congress, which will happen in a few months from now, and then expectations of the GOC of the incoming sports minister. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Maybe we can take a spot of music and we'll be right back. Don't touch your dial. This is Sporty 106.1 FM. We are live on Facebook, live on Spaces. Get to us 054-257-1061. Get to us on X, SportyFM _ and on Facebook at SportyFM.
This is in fulfillment of if I could not actualize that dream back in the day, and I have my younger brother putting it together, why would I not jump on board?
Ghana's first 24/7 sports radio station.
All right, it's a Sporty Drive from 4 to 6:45 every day from Monday to Friday. My name is Fifi Banks, and join me on the train. If you miss out, you miss out big time.
Jordan, are you ready? Boys, are you ready? Control the battery.
The countdown to the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations has officially begun, with a draw setting the stage for what promises to be an exciting tournament. Côte d'Ivoire, the reigning champions, will kick off their title defense against Mozambique in Group F, a pool that also features five-time winners Cameroon and Gabon. Host nation Morocco will open the tournament in Rabat on December 21 with a clash against the Comoros Islands. The Atlas Lions, top seeds in Group A, will also face Mali and Zambia as they aim to impress on home soil. Elsewhere, Group B brings a familiar rivalry as Egypt and South Africa are drawn together, a matchup that stirs memory of the iconic 1996 encounter. Algeria, looking to bounce back after their disappointing group stage exits in the last two editions, appear to have a more favorable path in Group E, where they will face Burkina Faso, Equatorial Guinea, and Sudan. In Group C, Nigeria will lock horns with Tunisia and the East African duo of Uganda and Tanzania, who will co-host in 2027. The 24-team tournament will feature 6 groups, with the top 2 from each group and the 4 best third-place teams advancing to the round of 16. Matches will be played in 6 cities across Morocco from December 21, 2025 to January 18, 2026.
My name is Nuuno Adams, African football specialist. I'm excited about AFCON 2025 because Morocco are putting in a lot of effort and the sort of infrastructure they have. I strongly believe they are going to give us a very good spectacle and one of the best tournaments in history. Will Africa miss the absence of Ghana's Black Stars? My opinion is that Ghana has always been a force to reckon with in terms of African Cup of Nations. Yeah, even though it's been a long while Ghana won the tournament, but we are always there, and we have a lot of football fans aside from the Ghanaian fans. So we not being in Morocco is going to be very disappointing and very embarrassing. But the tournament still has to go on, but the absence will be felt hugely. What did I learn from the AFCON draw? Well, I learned that we have interesting matchups coming up, right from the opening match to the final. Every single game is going to be worthwhile watching. Will Morocco host a better AFCON than Côte d'Ivoire? In my view, Morocco are going to give us a better version of the AFCON. I'm not saying Côte d'Ivoire didn't do well. They did extremely well. We saw how they trended across the group. But Morocco are putting in a lot of effort to make sure they surpass that. And I know with what we've seen so far, they are going to give us one of the best AFCONs in history. I think the Ghanaian media should still pay attention to AFCON 2025, even though the Black Stars will not be there, because we are the mouthpiece of African football to our Ghanaian fans and Ghanaian followers. So we still have to propagate the AFCON to them. We need to promote that. This is our tournament, and there's nothing we can do about it. Whether we have our country in there or not, we still have to promote the tournament. Here are my early predictions for the tournament. Best player of the tournament, I think, is going to be Achraf Hakimi, because I believe Morocco will go as far as the final. So Achraf Hakimi is going to be instrumental for them and basically the best player of the tournament. Top scorer, I still believe is going to be Victor Osimhen, because I know Nigeria is going to have a good tournament, and Osimhen is going to have fun with scoring of goals. My surprise package is Comoros, because of the sort of talent they possess and the sort of coach they are having in charge of the team. I strongly believe in them. The winner of the AFCON, I think, is going to be Morocco, doing host and win, because of the sort of quality they have. The disappointment they had in Cote d'Ivoire, they will have to prove a point to tell the rest of the world why they reached semi. Don't forget to follow the build-up and coverage of AFCON 2025 on Ghana's first 24/7 sports station, SportyFM.
Tell me how you doing. Wanna know how you feeling. I know this gonna get you grooving.
Welcome back. This is still the Sporty Breakfast live on Sporty 106.1 FM, the voice of sport, Ghana's first and only 24-hour all sports radio station. We are in Accra, North Jowlu, 47 Osubadu Street. We are in Kumasi, 91.3 FM, in Takrady, 102.5 FM, 054-257-1061. That's the WhatsApp number. We are live on X Spaces, live on Facebook. Get to us on SportyFM _ on X, and SportyFM on Facebook. We are still here with Ben Nuuno Mensah. He's president of the Ghana Olympic Committee. Raymond Yamado is still here. All right, let's get back to our conversation. Mr. Nuuno Mensah, thank you once again for staying. Let's talk about 2025 from a GOC perspective. What are the big things on your menu? What do you plan to do this year? I know that the first thing is to have your internal elections. That's in April, I believe. I think let's start with that. It's happening in April. What can you tell us about the elective Congress? Of course, the name suggests that you'll be electing members, but really, what's the broad agenda away from electing people? What do you hope to achieve when all of that is done?
Well, anytime there's a new administration or there's a new mandate, it comes with new vision or new directives. Sometimes, yes, as much as you want to continue or finish a few of the things that have been done in the old, there may be a few ideas coming on board and a few things that you want to do. So it's always an avenue to bring on more ideas or finish up what has already been done, or get new ideas as to what. So it gives you an opportunity to maybe not change direction, but add on to what you're doing. That's one of the essence of. That's why it's normally a 4-year mandate, and after that, you go back to the people that you work with, and then if they think that you've done well or you need to continue, then they renew your mandate. I mean, it's as simple as that.
I see.
It has to be with the people you work with and what's the assessment of what you have done is.
I see. So which means you've been in power since 2021?
No, I've been in office since 2016 or 2017.
Okay, 2016. So so the last cycle was over 2 terms. Would you be contesting again to be GOC president? GOC president.
We just had our Congress about a few days ago, and like I mentioned earlier on, I am working for people. It is the people who would eventually say, and that consultation started immediately after the Congress, and the picture I'm beginning to build is that most of the national federations will wish that a few things that you have started, especially that they've benefited so much, why don't you finish it up or take us through the next leg, and then we'll see. But I keep telling them, well, I need to consult as many as possible, because it has to be with the strength or with the willingness of the people that you have served. And that I see happening. And like I said, the picture looks very good. So we'll see in the next few days, we'll make a decision and everybody will be made aware.
I see. Raymond?
Yeah, Uncle, are you planning on running again?
Yeah, but that's what he's saying.
Well, I'll just explain to you that, yes, if people that you work with trust and believe in you so much, and as much as you may not want to do it, or maybe your family things that sometimes we serve this nation not because our family or we want it, but because the people we are serving want you to continue serving them. So when we get to that bridge, it will be known. Like I just said, we started the consultation process, and then I'm sure in the next few days we'll look. It also depends on the alternatives. If it's something that you think would give a new direction or give something better than what you've offered, then so there's so many things come into play in making these decisions.
So what would you say over the last few years has been your biggest achievement as president of the GOC? Well,
I think the biggest is we've changed the people's mindset about the so-called lease finance sport. At least people are talking about lease finance sports now. Nobody used to talk about it. In the last years, consistently, the Ghana Olympic Committee has been supporting the national teams, the national federations. It wasn't happening before we came in, but consistently it's been done. We had a project in Amasaman, which for 16 years was abandoned. We've reactivated. If you go to Amasaman now, it's a base for a youth football club that is owned by Mohamed Polo. So what it means that the football field has been made. We have a tennis court. We have a multi-purpose court. We're still sourcing for funding to finish the multi-purpose hall, and then get it fully fledged. This is something that is very dear to my heart. Amasaman land was never owned by the GOC because we didn't do the documentation. We worked with the Lands Commission. Eventually, now the Ghana Olympic Committee owns the land. These are a few of the things that are very special to me. Especially, Amasaman is not an Olympic stadium. Let me clarify that. It is a juvenile excellence center.
Okay.
What it means that it's not for
people typically
elite.
refer to it as an Olympic
it's not. It's not an elite sports or facility for elite sportsmen. It is a facility or a place that young talents can go and build up their talent, like what the football academy there is doing now. These are very young people. Okay, it's also serving as a community stadium. So you realize that the schools around Amasaman and its environment, this is where they go and have their schools competition, the primary school, the senior high schools competition, the annual competition. So that is the idea about the Olympia Africa project. It's not a stadium for elite athletes. We're hoping that we could put up hostels there, which of course then we can use as camping base, but then for our elite athletes as well. The sports hall that is the next phase of the project that we're going to do will have 8 rooms which can be used as camping facility, and if one room is can have about 4 athletes or maybe 2 bunk beds, then you can come as many athletes in Amasaman as possible. So this is something that is very dear to my heart, and this is something that I really wish to work and get it finished in my next term.
So what's the criteria for becoming a member of the GOC for federations? I'm asking this because we are told some federations have applied to join the GOC but have been put on hold. Example would be skating. What's the criteria? Are there any conditions that have to be met before you admit federations?
Okay, so the GOC is run by or guided by a constitution which we all came to inherit. Okay, for you to join the Ghana Olympic Committee, even though I have a personal belief that once the sports and Olympic sports, it can automatically, we shouldn't be too rigid with the process, okay? But I think the framers of our constitution had a good reason why, they put certain criteria. One, you should be affiliated with your international federation, because without that, if Raymond, you come and you say, look, I'm the national federation for, say, weightlifting, and then Nathan comes to me tomorrow, who are we to? So it is the one that is being recognized by the international federations that will recognize. The other criteria is that you should also have been recognized by the National Sports Authority. You should have been registered with the Registrar General. You should have had a congress or a meeting by the stakeholders, because it is the stakeholders in a sporting discipline that makes up the sport. It's not government institutions. So I want to believe that if it is you coming as weightlifting, you would have had all the weightlifting clubs in Ghana or all the weightlifters who have had a meeting and then elected their leadership. So when you apply, the minutes of that Congress that's elected is also one of the documents that would be required. You are also supposed to bring activities or things that you have done, you've been engaging in maybe in the past year, the past things you were incorporated. Okay, so if you're a federation or you just register a federation by name, and then you haven't done anything, because when you're a member of the GOC, maybe you can get a little bit money, and that is also not good. That, like I said, the framers of our constitution may have a reason why all this, even though I believe that once a sport is accepted as an Olympic sport, you automatically become a member. So these are the criteria, that you would meet and then become a member of the Olympic Committee. But even outside that, if you look at a sport like ski, bustling, and then maybe wrestling, these are sports that the Ghana Olympic Committee have been supporting their athletes for international events. So sports is about the athletes. Whatever we do, our focus is on it. We don't want the athletes to suffer. So even though skeleton is not a member of the Olympic, you realize that Akwesi Frimpong is even on a scholarship. Skiing is not. Carlos Media is on a GOC scholarship where he gets so much. So it's not like casting stone. Our focus is on the athletes. So if there's a particular athlete who needs to be helped, to be supported, trust me, we'll go ahead and support. He's a Ghanaian athlete. We don't care whether you're a member of the Ghana Olympic Committee or not. There are people there are federations who are members of the Ghana Olympic Committee, and they haven't gotten half the funding that Akwesi Frimpong's federation or Carlos Federation have gotten from the GOC. So yes, it's good to be a member of the GOC, but if you need support, especially athlete-based support, will not budge on that and will support it.
That was my last question, but just this one came to mind. Rose Yeboah.
Yeah.
I see, based on the disbursements you've done, her name doesn't feature anywhere as being a beneficiary of GOC support. Nathan, if you look through that list.
Okay, so like I told you,
but she's one we think is destined for the top.
So I will check my records again.
Maybe the GOC should pay attention to that.
So scholarships are given on quadrennial basis.
Okay.
And this was done 4 years ago.
Okay.
If 4 years ago, Rose Yeboah was one of the top athletes that the Ghana Athletic Federation submitted names for scholarship, obviously she will not be on. And these scholarships, like I said, the recommendations comes from the national federations. Right. It's not the GOC that does the selection.
Okay. I see. The president has nominated Mr. Kofi Adams to be Sports and Recreation Minister. Your take on that? I don't know if you've met him officially, unofficially, but so one, your impressions of Mr. Kofi Adams and potentially what he can achieve. But as GOC, what would you want him to do? For you, maybe specifically as GOC, in line with resetting sports and getting it to be better off than it already is?
Well, okay, so I've known Mr. Kofi Adams from his days with the Rawlinses, because I'm also very close to the Rawlinses, so at least we have something in common. And one thing I noticed I've always admired about him, he's very humble and he's a very listening person. And I want to believe that will be his trump card at the ministry, a listening person. But you see, sometimes when you listen too much, you over-listen, especially depending on who you're hearing it from. I've seen so many, and a lot of people rush to go set up meeting with Honorable Kofi Adams, and why do you rush if you know your relevance? If you know that eventually, you have to. So that is where he needs to watch. He's a very listening person, but you need to know who you're listening from. I have had, unofficial interaction with him, and like I said, it's somebody that we go way back, and I don't have any doubt about his ability to deliver at the sports ministry. But everybody knows that the ministry is a very slippery ground. Not slippery because the floors there are slippery, but there are so many media men and women talking about sports every second. Look, if you tune into all the radio stations in Ghana at any particular time, you have no less than 5 of the radio stations talking about sports. So that puts a lot of
for us at SportyFM, it's 24 hours.
Exactly. So it puts a lot of heat on the minister.
Yeah.
And if you're not careful, you get being bounced towards the bad. You hear this and then you're swayed here, you hear this and you're swayed there. But if you're very, very much on top of issues, or you're getting right advice from people who have the experience and people who have you at heart, I don't think he should be bothered about all the noise in inverted commas he's going to hear on the airways. I just want him to keep focus. He knows what he wants to do by way of what the party wants to achieve in sports. He only needs to get the right advice from the right people, and nobody should have any doubt. The NDC has a lot of people who are well vested in sports knowledge. And I think that if Honorable Kofi Adams is going to depend on people like us, we'll get him the right advice, we'll give him to the right guidance. And just like so many other people in the party who also have a lot of knowledge about sports. And I think we should be able to make it.
I see. What would you want him to do for the GOC specifically? I mean, as we wrap up the interview, if for him to succeed, or for you to say that, he's done well, what for the GOC, what would you want him to do for you?
He needs to work closely with the GOC, just like I've done with all the other ministers. That's all that he needs to do. Because you see, the Ghana Olympic Committee and the Ministry of Youth and Sports have a common interest to develop sports, or to develop the talent of our sportsmen. And in that common shared interest, we need to be working together. If the ministry can get 5 CDs, the GOC can get 2 CDs, and we support. And that is all that I want. Let's work together. There's a lot that the GOC can offer to support development of our sports.
I see. Mr. Nuuno Mensah, thank you so much for your time. We're trying to get this interview yesterday, but other businesses or other business things took him away, but he's made himself available. Really appreciate the fact that you've taken time out to come and speak with us. We like it. And you've spoken to the entire country. We hope your doors will be open. We'll be coming back to get your thoughts. And we also need to follow what the GOC will be doing so that we can highlight what they are doing and also ensure that they also succeed. Raymond, the biggest thing, the first big thing the GOC will be doing is the Congress.
Yes,
in
we'll be
April.
There.
So we'll be there.
And we wish him
well.
And we wish you the very best.
Yeah.
We still don't know whether he will contest or not, but we wish you the very best either way.
Either way. I want to believe he would contest. No, he has good plans.
Of course. All right, let's see.
This is the best time for him to
implement some of these things.
Especially when you can get government support.
It's important.
I hope the Federation.
Mr. Nuuno Mensah, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day and wish you the very best.
Thank you, guys. And I think that you're doing well for Ghana sports, even though you're very young. I'm very impressed what I've found here, and I'm listening to you on my drive here. I think you guys have what it takes to live help us live Ghana sports. Thank you all very much.
This is SportyFM, the voice of sport.